Throughout history, men have been considered the leaders of the workforce and family life. But how can we as a society level the playing field? Did you know that on average, women earn only 77 cents for every dollar a man makes? Learn more about what women's leadership is all about today on The Younger You.
I'm on top of the world, now I'm living, and the good just gets better, keeps on giving. Not even close to the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter, yeah. And it's a good, I won't even worry anymore. Took all my cares, still can kick them all out the door. Go on and try, come and tell me what you're waiting for. Move and keep them going till your life is overflowing, yeah.
Utah was ranked the worst state in the nation for women leaders, with less than 31% of management positions held by women and only 16% of state legislators are women. And women in Utah on average earn 70 cents to every dollar that a man earns, making it the fourth worst state with regards to pay. Studies also show that executive board performances peak when the board is composed of 55% women. And according to studies, subordinates from companies all over the world rate women leaders better at energizing others. Welcome to The Younger You. Let me introduce you to my fantastic panel. We have Scott Hammond, a clinical professor of management at Utah State University, Chris Doty, associate professor of social work and a chair of the behavioral science department at the Utah Valley University, Nisha DeGeering, one of our ABC4 hosts here at Channel 4, and Susan Madsen, a professor of management at Utah Valley University and the Orrin R. Woodbury Professor of Leadership and Ethics. What I want to talk about this time is leadership with our younger generation. Where do we start?
We first start by modeling the type of behavior that we want to see them engage in. It's okay to go to school and to be a wife and a mother, that these are options and that the option for you is going to be different than somebody else. The choices you make are going to be different. But even more than what I say to my girls, it's what their father says to them and what he says and what his perception of women are that he shares with his daughters. That makes all the difference.
It's really important as a father to say to my daughter, yes, you're pretty, but you're smart too. Mm-hmm. To use that hook on education, or you did well in sports, or whatever it is, to praise them not just for looks, but for much more than that.
Because it's really important for men to acknowledge women for more than just what they see on TV, the Carl's Jr. commercials and those kinds of things where they're more pretty and what their waistline is, where those things don't matter with the things that we want our girls to achieve.
And we do that to boys. We're
about
talking about accomplishments with boys, but girls, we go, isn't she cute? Your daughters are so cute.
And actually that's supported by research, absolutely. What happens even with teachers when they're young is that we do say, you are pretty, what they are already. And for boys, we say, you work so hard. You can, and what we're saying is, this is who you are already. And to boys, we're saying this is how you can become. The more that we're aware, the more that we can work with educators, mothers, fathers, aunts and uncles, whomever, workplaces, the more people are aware that we do these kinds of things and that we say these kinds of things, then we can make change.
I found it so interesting. I put my 10-year-old in flag football, daughter, and we walk out to the field. She's the only girl there. And as we walked out to the field, she said, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. I don't think this is me. Dads shook their head as she walked out there. Dads shook their head, and
probably some mothers too.
And some mothers shook their head until she
probably
threw.
did because they're really judgmental as well.
Until she threw her first pass, until she threw the long bomb to the end zone, and came over to me and said, "I belong here." And that's what as a mom, I say, you belong where you want to be, and that's a different conversation.
But that wasn't what you were taught.
Not what I was taught. No, it was, I don't know how many girls when I was little played football and felt like you could do that.
But even soccer, when and you're younger than I am, but I've done research, my master's was exercise physiology and I studied sports. There are so many benefits for boys, but girls and young women to playing sports. You learn things, and also speech and debate go into that. You learn competition, you learn to lose, you learn to get up and keep going. Boys get punched. Yes, you learn to just keep going and doing those things and be tough and do teamwork. You don't learn those things as girls from a lot of other things.
I think you do learn some of those things from groups like Girl Scouts and those type of environments where it is for girls as such, because we have Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and I think you do learn that. I think it's, and when I say this, and I'm probably going to get lots of emails, I think it is up to the parents to make sure the children are exposed to these different types of aspects of life.
They need to learn how to compete. We were talking about comparison and competition, and this is kind of what we're talking about. We have to teach our girls to feel comfortable competing and being strong.
Don't you think Title IX, going back to that women coming into college sports 30 years ago and that equality that was forced, it's changed the workforce because women can compete now better. At least there's a generation who can.
But facts aren't showing that.
No,
right
no.
now.
Well, but it was worse before.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
We've made some progress.
And so we come in, and I have colleagues who are women, and we work together well because they know how to work with me, and I know how to work with them.
All right,
Can I
before we
throw-
can we come back after
Yes, you
break?
can.
I've just got to. I'm just going to get killed by everyone. We'll be right back after this short break.
Like us on Facebook for updates on the show and how to join the Younger You conversation.
Welcome back to the Younger You. Well, the discussion continues about how we can teach our younger generation. We're mainly talking about young girls in how to be stronger, how to be more confident, how to be more accepting as well.
Can I throw another C word out there?
Well, no, let's finish off what you were
Can't-
saying before the
well,
break.
And this is what it was. Celebrate. We need to teach our girls to not only not compete always, or compete if, I think it's better for worse, right? But celebrate other women. Celebrate other girls doing the same thing. There was a study I saw 2 years ago. It said something like, as women and as girls, when we meet you, we decide what we think of you in 6 seconds, if we're going to compete or celebrate.
You mean girls think that,
Girls
or adults?
meeting other girls, women, kids, all of it.
Really?
We meet other girls and decide if we're going to like you in 6 seconds. And
Gee, I'm doing it in 3 seconds.
well, you're the second fact. But why can't we in 6 seconds say, I'm going to celebrate that other girl? Why do we as women have such a hard time with that?
Because we look at the all or nothing thinking of it, because you're looking at opposite ends, compete or celebrate. Why can't we meet in the middle and consider collaborate?
I like that.
And that way we stop making everything a competition or a comparison. And
But
people
life
can,
is like that now.
it is, but it doesn't have to be that way in every venue.
And part of it, if you do celebrate things like my oldest daughter gave up a lot of things to be a great mom. Why not celebrate? Why not? I tell her as much as I can, you're a great mother. And we don't
celebrate
we don't
that
celebrate that.
hardly
We
at
don't
all.
celebrate.
You're saying that you say your daughter gave up a lot of things to be a wonderful mother,
Yes.
and you encourage that continually. If you were to have a son, would you do the same?
I say that to her husband, but I just don't give as many chances because I'm also telling him you're managing your career really well, you're doing these other things. But yeah, we're watching that Little League game, and I'm saying to him, you're a great dad.
Yeah.
You're here.
You know, I want to bring something up with motherhood that's important. In one of the studies, well, actually in numerous studies, and I think women do not understand this, that you can actually develop confidence and leadership from motherhood if you learn and you reflect. And I have 3 slides packed full of things that all of my people, the governors have said to me, business leaders, people I've interviewed, on what they learned about leadership while they were sometimes fully stay-at-home moms. Things like picking your battles, things like forgiving every single day, things like communicating and finding different ways to communicate to get through. They said they've learned all of those skills in being a mother.
Okay.
So I think that's interesting.
Do you sorry?
You have to put yourself aside.
I have to ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you think, and this comes into what you're saying, do you think motherhood changes a woman's perspective mentally?
Yes.
You have to think
Because I
bigger
think it's
than
going
you.
on what you're
Yep.
saying.
Great
More
mother.
forgiving, more
Exactly.
relaxing,
Yes.
pick your battles. Do you feel that?
There's a shift, I think, in thinking when mother starts having children, because all of a sudden the focus shifts from achieving and doing things, especially with the comparison piece, you know, what everybody else is doing, and all of a sudden now she has something outside of herself to focus on, a new life, somebody that she has dreams and hopes and expectations for. Absolutely, there's a mental shift there and an emotional shift, because that tender piece, that nurturing piece, will come out more and will play out in a way that it doesn't without that change.
Okay.
So what happens to men at that same point? They focus outward. Instead of focusing inward, yeah, you focus inward. They give you that beautiful little baby and you say, I have this baby. Now I got to go be successful in my career to
provide for
provide
this
for
family.
them.
You know, it's interesting, Scott, every time though you talk about your daughters, I see you get emotional.
Thank you.
Oh.
I was gonna say, yeah.
You're a strong guy. You mention your daughters and I see you tear up almost about them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there is a deep love there, obviously, but it's reflected back. That's the main thing.
I'm a bit like that with my moisturizer.
Oh my God.
It's perspective. Don't you think? I mean, parenthood
I
gives you
do.
a unique perspective.
And losing control. My kids are all
So
young
true.
adults. And I have one daughter and 3 sons. And my daughter 2 years ago did something totally unexpected. She joined the National Guard. And to me, even though I
Unexpected for who?
teach for all of us,
Okay.
but it shifted my thinking in terms of, you know, I speak about keeping ourselves outside this box, and then I go into this box very easily.
Thank you.
And so she has
That's
taught
what I was
me.
asking you.
She has taught me a lot, and I'm just so proud of her when I see her in her Army outfit. I'm getting teary-eyed because she's just strong and confident, and her chin is high, and she's physically strong and mentally. She went through basic training. And so things look differently. And motherhood teaches you when they're small, but also when they leave. We keep getting taught by our children, and it's a wonderful thing.
Interesting perspective of what you were just saying. But when we come back, I want to talk about men versus women, okay? Now, it has been shown that women are the stronger sex when it comes to these type of conversations. But we'll be back after this short break. Closed captioning for the younger you is brought to you by Mindful Medical. Be sure to head over to theyongeryou.tv to stay up to date with all things younger you. Welcome back to The Younger You. Well, this is a discussion that I thought was an important one. How do women react when there's a room full of men? Or how do they adjust when they are in an environment that is predominantly men?
There's so much interesting research on this, but I just finished a big, thick book called The Silent Sex that really looked at these details. And generally speaking, in all of the studies, if there's more men in the room than women, women tend to speak generally 75% less than men. And this particular book really analyzed every word that was spoken by men and women and counted the minutes and so forth. And the combination changes. So if you get a majority of women, then women start talking more. Now, interestingly, if you get a whole room full of women and only one man, the man still talks plenty. But women, the women will shut
And
down.
what they talk about is different too.
It is. It is.
Is
Well,
it the
what changes?
topics? I mean,
I'm
is
like,
it
conversation.
the topics? Is that why we're shutting down, or are we really deferring
Well, you tell us.
to men?
I think that's the important thing.
Well, do you see me shutting down in a room full of men?
You don't have an option.
What do you mean?
But you're what is perceived a man's business.
Really? So,
Yeah.
so it's
You either get up there or you will
right.
be...
You jump in.
And I
You
don't
jump
either.
in.
You do jump in.
Because of my, I think being raised with 6 brothers, that socialization and what you learn as you're growing up, I had to be in there.
But you
Your
also
voice
have
heard.
all the credentials that a man would have in that
That's true.
context.
Okay,
Good
what do
point.
you think?
So-
Good point.
You know, I didn't really start making my voice heard until I got an education. And I went back to school when my children were school-aged. And then all of a sudden, the more letters after my name, the more confident I felt. And I don't know, I'm still the same person I always was, but I just feel like I have permission to have something to
But
say.
education helps. And you know,
It
I've done a
does.
lot of work on education, and many women drop out to take care of kids and don't think that it's important for them to continue.
Well, something you were just saying before, that you feel you can now have more of a conversation. Did you feel that's because you're now educated?
That I have something to contribute,
Yeah.
yes, because I'm educated.
Well, and men tend to control the agenda a lot of the time, and it's
Well,
a
I'm having
content.
no luck here.
Well, and it's the content of the meeting that they control, right? So you have to, you can contribute to the content, whereas women tend to talk about the emotional aspect or how they feel about what's going on in the room, and men are talking about what you know, the content, the research.
It's a different conversation.
You know.
Go ahead.
Why is it then that women are better at those type of conversations?
The emotional
Yeah.
ones, I think that's kind of where our heart is. We lead out with our heart, whereas men lead out with the strength and the head. And so I really think that for me, I feel more comfortable when I'm passionate about something. When I have something to say that's important and I can get everything behind it, not just my intellect, but I can sell it with my heart. If I can do that, I can go ahead and command a discussion if I need to.
And interestingly, in Utah, I did 4 reports on the status of women in Utah compared to the nation. We're very low in terms of politics, business like corporate boards, and even education. But we're pretty close to the national average on nonprofits because women lead with their hearts.
Do you
and
think that's
so
our culture though?
I think so. I think we have more women volunteers, but women in general, I mean, when we're in the legislature, we're going to do poverty, we're going to hit women in abuse,
Well, it's
we're going to hit
grassroots.
education. Yeah, we love those things. So I really like your comment, Chris.
Well, when I want to get back to, is that our culture, where we do have a less amount of women in the workforce as such. Isn't that the way women in Utah were raised? You go to
Yes.
university until
Yes.
you're proposed to or get married, and then you leave.
But we are, just to correct you a little bit, we are equal in terms of women in the workforce in
Okay.
general. We have a lot more part-time and different kinds of, it looks a little bit different, but just wanted to correct you there. We have less women in management and leadership positions.
Okay, my mistake.
Is it just this state though, or is it not as acceptable across the country if
Well, we're the
you
fourth
want
lowest.
a career?
Well, I think there are some cultural issues here in the state, and that comes to priorities, and maybe, whether we know it or not, what we think is successful. So I think that guides some of the choices that we make, and sometimes within our culture, and I happen to be LDS woman myself, we put ourselves in a box and other people say, well, a good Mormon woman looks exactly like this. Sometimes we say
who
that
says?
to
But
ourselves or
You
other
said,
people.
You know, but I'll have to say this, that some of the worst examples of sexism that I've seen in the workplace were outside of Utah.
Yeah,
That
true,
there is a
true.
big problem out there too.
That's true.
And it's alive and well.
Absolutely.
I think that's so interesting that you say, is it the culture doing it or us coming out of this culture that have decided individually,
topic.
here is my box.
Yeah.
Here's my box, and I think everyone wants me to be one way, so I have to be that way. And I love earlier when you said your success is defined by you, not your culture, not everyone around you, but what makes you happy. I struggled with working in this culture. I struggled with it. It was hard for me to feel like I still fit in the culture at the same time.
Can I ask Chris a quick question? Sorry. With perfectionism, do you
Yes.
see a difference? Because that relates to our conversation. Do you see
We're
a
going to get
difference?
to that after the
Okay,
break.
sorry.
We're going to get to that after the break. It's a very good conversation. Can I just?
I'm sorry.
We'll be back after this short break.
All right.
Welcome back to the, well, uncontrollable younger you. Right now, you were asking a question just before we went to break about perfection. Let's finish
I
that
just
off.
wonder if, and Chris has done such extensive research on perfectionism and women specifically, if what we were just talking about plays into that, particularly if you've seen things between the state of Utah, women in the state of Utah and beyond.
Perfectionism is really apparent for a number of reasons. I think part of the culture gives us the be therefore perfect piece. And so we internalize that and we think what that really means is that we have to be without flaw. We can't make a mistake. So that makes us a little more afraid to take a risk. You know, whether it's to jump into a career, to pursue our education, you know, something else, it just makes it difficult for us because we're afraid to fail.
So what
But
do
who
you
says you're
do?
fine?
What do
Go
you
on.
do? Well, what do you do about that? Because I know here at ABC4, we did a huge series on the perfection problem. And I wanted to feel like at the end we found some answers.
Did we?
And I don't know.
That's what I'm asking.
How do you, I don't think so.
How do we take away that mentality?
First thing is be comfortable taking a risk. Brene Brown has done some incredible work on being vulnerable and the gifts of imperfection. And we've got to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, I'm not perfect, but wow, I've got some really wonderful strengths here, here, and here that I really need to nurture. And we need to teach our children the same thing. Sooner or later, it's going to shift the culture, but it's like the Titanic. It just takes forever to move, you know, to move and to change. So until then, we just have to keep being comfortable with ourselves and being okay. Give ourselves permission to fail and give other people permission to be themselves.
I say your best is good enough. And that's what I tell my girls.
But we don't get,
Your best is good enough.
But is it? Because we're
Yes.
always told, be better, be stronger.
It's the
And
first-
even though you say to your girls, be like that.
Do I feel like that about myself?
Yeah, thank you.
And it's true. Do we practice what we preach? But I do say to my girls when they come home with a 71% on the math test, did you do your best? And when they say yes, I go, it's good enough. Because you want to say, oh, I like the A, but at some point we have to say, just give yourself a break. Your best is good enough.
71 is a C. C's get degrees. C's make things work.
That
It's
drives me
okay.
crazy
Yeah, I
with
was
my
about to say,
students.
what?
That some of them say that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you can do so much better. One of the things I wanted to add that goes right with the comment you made, and I work with thousands of women across the state of Utah and internationally, is, and I see it really here, even though I see it other places too, is we do not know and acknowledge our strengths as women. We feel that we're not being humble.
Is that your tip?
Or
Is
whatever.
that what you're telling me is a tip?
Yes, we need to
Acknowledge.
understand what we're really good at. Because I mean, I tell women all the time, and they're like, really? I thought everybody else was. We've got to understand our strengths to be able to, and help our children understand really important strengths, not surface level stuff. Oh,
I
you're
feel we're
wonderful
very
or whatever.
surface. Yeah.
And women are self-deprecating and men accept a compliment. You're
But-
powerful. Thank you. Women go, oh.
No, really, it's her. She's really the wonderful
As a
one.
man, you have to. As a man, you have to. I have a colleague. She's self-deprecating. I interrupt her and I say, "That's not you. You are my colleague. We're working on an important project, and men need to." As mentors, as fathers, you've got to stand back and mentor somebody and interrupt them and help them have that
Well, I'm
confidence.
trying to,
You
but
do
you
the
won't
same
let
with men. You do the same with your son. Do it with your daughter.
But Scott, do men do this to us, or do women do it to
I
each
think
other?
It's a
Well,
combination.
it's a
It's really
combination,
a
you're right.
combination. And back to your original question.
I've forgotten what my
Well,
question
it
is.
is. What can we do? What I have found that when we help people, girls themselves, parents, educators, understand some of these issues, they are enlightened. Even just an hour when I'm talking to them about confidence, they come out of there with tools to change. So this awareness issue of these, this just being important, I think, is a good start.
Are you saying, well, I want to get back to where I wanted
Oh.
to interrupt you. But good tool.
Oh, thank you.
Are you saying that men need to step up more?
Oh, yes.
And when I say this, not just in the workplace, but I also think at home. And be more loving, more accepting, more inviting, more encouraging to the woman in their life?
Absolutely, mentoring. Men need to mentor. Women, professors, father. We need to mentor. You've got to teach your daughter how to swing a bat just as much as you do your son. You
Yeah.
need to go out there with them and teach them how to swing that bat, even though that's not my strength, and even though my son was
I
a good
can tell
batter.
by your form.
Yeah.
It was a little awkward, Scott.
She's a better athlete than I am, but that's true with intellectual pursuits too.
Guys, thank you so much. We could go on forever, but we don't have enough film in the camera. I'm joking, I know it's digital. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. We don't often do two-parters here at the Younger You, so thank you, we really appreciate it. For more information about our topics and our show, head over to our website at theyounger.tv, and I'll see you next week. Next week on The Younger You, it's the final Younger You Challenge. Watch to see if all of our contestants made it through to the end and did they reach their personal goals.
The Younger You set provided by Madison McCord Interiors.